Hey everyone, and welcome to Three Black Women and Their White Coach,
a podcast where we have a conversation around navigating race in the coaching industry.
And we're your hosts.
I'm Catrice Stetson, your mixed race internet bestie and serial entrepreneur who's built multiple businesses from the ground up.
And I'm Brianna Lachelle, your biracial nonprofit coach whose focus is on helping support nonprofit leaders and founders create impact-driven organizations that radically change their communities for the better.
Here at Three Black Women and Their White Coach, we dive into hard conversations centered around racial inequity within the coaching space with softness and grace.
Our hearts are to open up these conversations and create a safe space for people to be seen, learn, and create a better, more inclusive environment for all.
So pull up a chair, your favorite snack, and a bevy while you yap with your new biz besties as we work to make the coaching industry a place where we all feel welcome and respected. In this episode, we're digging into the idea of the tokenized Black girl, the hyper-visible, under-supported Black woman who's praised in public but dismissed in private. We're talking about how this plays in the coaching industry, what it feels like to be the one, and how inclusion without integrity becomes exploitation. Through personal stories, historical context, and honest reflection, we explore how tokenism hurts and what true equity actually looks like.
Before we dive in, we want to take a moment to name the heart behind this episode. Today's conversation is about tokenism and specifically what it feels like to be the tokenized Black girl in the coaching space. This is not an attack. We're not saying every white coach is doing this or that every space is harmful, but we are saying that many Black women, ourselves included, have been made to feel like props instead of partners, visible but not valued. We're sharing these stories not to shame, but to shed light. Tokenism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's really quiet, it's polite, but it's still deeply harmful. We believe in nuance, we believe in accountability with compassion, and we believe that naming harm is a first step toward healing and creating spaces where Black women don't have to perform to belong. So whether the episode confirms what you felt or challenges what you thought you knew, stay with us. This conversation is being held with love, clarity, and the hope that we all can do better together.
So diving into some definitions, tokenism is the act of making only a symbolic effort to include marginalized people, especially to give the appearance of equity or diversity. The token Black girl is the one who gets the seat, but not the power. She's invited to prove diversity exists in the space, but rarely invited to shape the space.
And then this is really kind of set in some like historical roots, right? So civil rights era institutions hiring one Black person for optics when there was the full civil rights movement, the model minority myth used against Black women to award assimilation, the different types of media tropes like the sassy Black friend, the magical Black woman, the strong Black queen who supports everyone but herself. And what it really boils down to is we have to realize that tokenism is not representation. It's a performance and it's positioned as progress, but doesn't actually do the work or take the time to provide true opportunity for people in the space. And that's why it's harmful.
I think that even like really tying back to like the quote that you shared in the last episode, Brianna, where you really like highlighted like allyship without accountability is just good branding. Like tokenism really plays that same role. It's just good marketing. It's just like it is a way to make you as the coach, whether you're a white coach looking at Black women or a Black woman looking at a Latino or a Latino looking at Asian, whatever, like the idea is that you're way more focusing on your image and the way that you are being seen and checking boxes versus actually doing the work and putting in the effort to make an inclusive space.
Yeah. And I think it's like really hard because on the outside it looks like progress, right? And so I know a lot of people will use like this tokenized Black girl, whether they know that that's what she is or not, as an example of like, hey, like, no, there's not a problem. Oh no, that coach isn't problematic. This space is inclusive because look, there's that one black girl, she's on the stage, she's not sitting on the panel, but she's hosting, she's on the branding, but she's not like the person in charge. She's there though, so doesn't that count for something? Why is that not enough? And I think that that's really like the thing that really like grinds my gears a little bit, is that we use this tokenized black woman as like the card to say like, why isn't that enough for you, when it's a falsehood within itself. Like if you're giving someone a position, but none of the power that comes with the position, none of the authority, none of the accessibility to the resources, then it's really just a show. It's really pretend. And that's why it's not enough. And I think that that's like where the conversation can kind of get missed, is that we're not mad that there's a black woman in the seat. We're mad that the black woman is being used as a pawn and not getting any of the benefits or like the privileges of what being in that seat should mean for her.
Thinking about that story you shared about your coach and how you asked the question, like, have you ever worked with a woman of color, like a black woman? It would be so easy for that coach to then go and be like, oh, I need to make sure, like setting a quota. And I
Mm-hmm.
brought this up in like the last episode, like this idea, this imaginary quota of being like, oh, every year I need to at least make sure I work with one black woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's like this performative piece. And most of the time I see, especially with tokenism, and it's only what's palatable and what's digestible for like the society, like the collective being, where, oh, it's a black girl but she has straight hair, or it's a black girl but she's like skinny and like toothpick thin.
Yeah.
It's never the big black girl, or it's never the black girl with the big hair. It's
Right.
always like that's where I see a lot of tokenism play. And like it's not saying that, oh, plus size or naturally curly haired black girls aren't used for tokenism, but like it is very often pushed into a direction of like what is palatable, what fits society's beauty standards, and
Yeah.
that's who they select to be, their black girl. Like this is how we know we're inclusive and diverse, because so and so who is like literally, and also like I'm gonna say it, sometimes it's picking the mixed race girls who are white passing. Like, let's just be real. You're only picking them because one, they check one specific box, but you've made sure that they've checked every other box.
Yeah. And I think it also is like so apparent, like when this is kind of happening, is like when there's just like one specific black girl and like all the marketing for a year, and then maybe the next year a new one happens, or they just rock with that same black girl. Like everything else in their marketing is other white women. That's like there's like diversity, there's people like changing in and out, but there's always that one. And it's like to just prove that like, oh, and also, and it's like it almost feels like an easy afterthought. Like, do you ever get that like feeling of like,
Yeah.
oh crap, it's like they did all the planning. It makes me think about your photo shoot, right? And it wasn't even intentional, I think, on the person who was setting it up, but the fact that they're prepared for white women with straight hair that they could do a blowout on, but then you walked into the room and it was like, oh yeah, we should probably have someone that fits that quota. I wasn't quite prepared for it. So we're going to do something simple, something easy that doesn't take a lot of effort from me. And then we're going to put her in the pictures and she's going to look so beautiful and it's going to be great. But we didn't actually do anything to make sure that she was comfortable and got the same experience as everybody else. She was an afterthought. And that's really like where this like kind of comes in for me.
It's so funny that you bring up the shoot, because throughout this whole entire shoot, so I was a bridesmaid. That like just adds to like this whole little thing. So I was a bridesmaid, and the for this shoot, the bride was white. She was a redhead though,
Oh,
so I feel like that's like a specific kind of like diversity card for some people. And I don't think that this particular photographer who had hosted this, like the makeup artist, the hairstylist, definitely had some thoughts on my curls, but the photographer is very inclusive. But something that I was actively talked about and like laughed about during the shoot is it was this white girl with red hair, and that was a conversation piece. And then there were two, I'm going to say islanders because I cannot tell you off the top of my head which islands they're from, but Pacific Islands esque.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and they were the other two bridesmaids. And
Oh,
so it was us
nice.
three bridesmaids and then a white couple with bride having red hair. And something that we were actively joking about throughout the shoot is like, I can't remember what the bride's name was, but we were like, oh my gosh, she has such a diverse friend group. She really like made sure, because like it's a style shoot. It's not a real wedding, but it's something that like we talked about. I was like, wow, she like so inclusive, so like we would be like smiling during the shoot and like laughing and giggling, and like we'd literally just be repeating back to each other, so inclusive, so diverse. But it was so funny because, and then like we had this conversation about, you know, redheads, and I mean, this is coming out in the fall, so by now, if you have not seen this like trend of like people talking online about redheads being like the blacks of white people,
Uh-huh.
it's a whole thing. And so like this whole thing was like, it was so funny, but like something that I continually thought about throughout this shoot, and something that I've thought about as photos from the shoot have been released to like the vendors and everything, is like this makeup artist who was not prepared for me to be there, for me to
Mm-hmm.
have prepared for me to have curly hair. She was prepared for me to be there, but she was not prepared for me to have curly hair. And I think about her, and I haven't done, I have, at the time of this recording, we're 2 weeks out from my wedding. I don't have time to deep dive into how inclusive and diverse her portfolio is. But something that I thought about was the fact that if she was not prepared for my hair to be curly, which was really interesting because I had connected with her before.
Mm-hmm.
And I am the only Catrice, as far as I know, in Seattle, who does like modeling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, like how diverse is her portfolio? That she just assumed that I would have straight hair. And
Yeah.
like the crazy thing is, for everyone, my fiance at the time of this getting posted, my husband has never seen me with straight hair.
Yeah.
Most everyone that I'm close to in the Seattle scene has never seen me with, like, entrepreneurial scene has never seen me with straight hair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was this idea of like, I wonder if now, because she has these photos of this gal, me, who has curly hair, if that is like something that she will highlight in her marketing, because
Mm,
she obviously assumed that I would have straight hair.
right. Yeah, I think that that's really interesting too. And I know like later on we're going to be doing, I think the next episode actually we're going to be talking about hair and like the importance of hair with Black women and things like that. But I think like that's always such an interesting space because like there's so many things that like Black women have to do with our hair to be seen as like acceptable or palatable. And so it's oftentimes that like Black women with natural hairstyles are very rarely, at least for me, I'm very rarely seeing them in like marketing. It's usually the idealized version of like, okay, yeah, there's like a Black woman, but she's gonna have straight hair, she's gonna look a certain way, she's gonna do a certain thing. And so I think that that's like always interesting too because it comes with like expectations, and like it's very obvious, like you were saying, that that makeup artist had the expectation that even if you were mixed, even if she didn't know that you were a Black woman, she thought your hair would be straight. And so like, which is really interesting because that is not a Black woman's natural hair texture, is not straight. So why she made that assumption, or the fact that we live in a society that that is the natural like assumption, also plays into how like tokenism really like comes into play in ways that we might not like recognize, or we might not be like fully conscious or aware of.
just like the way that some people just like assume, like the assumptions, and like we've talked about is when with tokenism, it's always what is societal norms, what fits the
Mhm.
status quo. So if you do see like and I'm talking like big companies, if you do see a Black woman with her natural curls, it's pretty often that it will be tamed. So like
Mhm.
pulled back in some way where it's not just like big and natural and like frizzed. Let's be real, it's frizzed. My hair is frizzy. Or they're at the back of like a group. If it's like a group picture and their hair is big, they're at the back always because like what if they block someone? Like I cannot tell you how many times in school, even though my hair wasn't big, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, like your afro's getting in the way of me seeing the board." And I was like,
That
I
sucks.
literally have a ponytail today
Yeah.
and just like a big end of my tail is just big.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to acknowledge that I don't think that white coaches are having meetings with their team as like, we have to find the Black girl for our marketing strategy this year.
Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
I would love to. If you are having these conversations, can I please be a fly on the wall?
Like, I mean, there might be people having those conversations, but personally, I want to choose to believe that nobody is like intentionally setting out and like going through Instagram or diving through like their client list and is that's going to be the girl this year. She's it. So, like, obviously, this is an unconscious decision, but there's like definitely signs. So then when it's unconscious, it can be hard to recognize, right? But there's definitely signs of tokenism in the coaching space. And if you're a coach, here are just a few things that you can be looking at. If, like we've been talking about, if you're featuring a Black client in visuals but not compensating them the same as some of your other clients, or like other people, or you're not compensating them at all, if you just like call up your one Black friend to do your branding photo shoot with you but you don't actually have a Black client, just being honest, because these are real things that's happening, right? If you call your one Black friend and be like, hey, can you come be like a role play for me, but you don't actually have any clients and you're not even paying them to do it for you, that's a problem. If you're using a single Black voice to represent all Black experiences, that's a huge issue, which is another reason why me and Catrice at the beginning of each episode make it so clear that like we can't speak for all Black women. We can't speak for all people of color. We can only speak to our own personal experiences, and we recognize that they're nuanced because we are mixed race, because I'm biracial. Like, our experience is not going to be the exact same as another Black woman from another part of the country, who's fully Black. Like, so using one person and saying that like whatever they say about the Black experience is the way is wrong. Like, no one person can speak for any one race. And so we have to be really conscious that we're not putting that pressure and expectation and painting a picture that uses like a single person as the voice. Um, if we're seeing like you're citing DEI values without actually having practices or policies in place, then you're creating a tokenism out of the Black experience. If you're inviting Black speakers just to check a box, especially on a diversity month, that's a problem. Please. If that's the other thing that I look at before I go to a conference or anything like that. If I only see a Black speaker during Black History Month or on Juneteenth, that's a red
Oh,
flag to me. Because
amen.
how come the only time Black voices matter is in the 28 days of the year that our history is supposed to be important, or on Juneteenth? That's wild to me, like, if you're going to have Black speakers, then have them all the time consistently, or don't have them at all. Like I said in a few earlier episodes, like, say it with your full chest. If you don't want Black speakers in your programs, then just don't have us. But don't invite us just because it's Black History Month and you thought it would be cute, you know? Like, that's icky. Don't expect Black women to educate everyone else while still being polite. That's also a huge thing. Just because there's a Black woman in the space, does that mean that they have to educate you on injustices or tokenism or any of the things that we've talked about in previous episodes? And if she does choose to help educate you on those things, you're not allowed to tone police her. You're not allowed to say that what she's saying is invalid because you don't like the way that she spoke. Her being passionate about a topic doesn't give you a right to say that everything that she said is invalid.
And it's not even just the topic.
Yeah.
Her
Well,
life, her experience.
yeah, especially when you're inviting her to have that conversation. You can't ask questions and be mad at her lived experience, you know? And then it's really important that like you're not supporting Black women publicly but not defending them privately. That's a big one. Like I can't iterate this enough. Like, don't be nice to me in my face and talk about me behind my back. Don't say that I'm welcome and that I have a place at the table and that you care about my opinion and my perspective and that I'm safe in a room with you. And then as soon as I walk out the room, you switch up. Like say it with your full chest and just own the fact that like you're either in or you're out. And if you're out, then I mean, I have thoughts and opinions about you, but like that's your right to be out. But if you're going to be in, like be in it with us and like defend us and be a true ally, like we talked about in that previous episode. Be a true ally, whether black people, women of color, people of color see you or not. I think that's where you can be the most effective ally is when there's no people of color in the room. Like you standing up for what's right and having conversations with your white friends in white spaces without any people of color around is the most truest like version, truest example of allyship that I can think of.
Something that often is not considered is that it's not just tokenism isn't just a bad look. Like it's not just like oh, so and so is only using a Black girl in her marketing to try to like it's not just a bad look. It causes like true harm. Like
Yeah.
there are like it causes trauma and everything cuz one, it creates isolation and emotional exhaustion. Like I can't even explain how exhausting it is. One, especially when I realize that I am in a situation where I am the tokenized Black girl. How exhausting and performative I then am because it forces me to
Mm-hmm.
self monitor.
Yeah.
It forces me into this position where I'm like, I need to stay in good standing for whatever reason to try to be able to want like let's say I'm invested in a coaching program. I've now like if I come to the realization that I am in your program and I'm here because you need to check that box, you need to hit your quota, it puts me and other women of color in this situation where it's like you have to perform. I can no longer like if I felt comfortable at any point being like, wow, I can really like not perform here, I'm now performing because I now have something that I feel I need to prove.
Well, and it also puts like this like unnecessary burden on that woman to be the face, to be the spokesperson for all Black women, for all women of color, and to know that you hold the key to whether other Black women will be invited back into the room, to know that what you say and how you perform and how you show up and the perspective that you give other people, the perception that other people in this room have of you is not just for you, but of like your entire race, of the entire group of women that look like you. And knowing that you could be the reason why they can't be a part of the conversation is like a burden that no one should have to bear because it's not fair. Because how I behave as Brianna is a reflection of me and my priorities. It's not a reflection on the entire Black race. It's not a reflection of all women. It's not a reflection of all mothers. It's not a reflection of all eldest daughters, and so on and so on and so on. It's a reflection of me and my personal choices, my personal experiences, my core beliefs. And to make it about anybody else but me is really unfair expectation.
And it's like the confidence piece
Yeah.
is one, you make it all about them and you've now made them the spokesperson for everyone. And there's this like feeling of confidence and feeling like, wow, like at one point you're like, wow, I'm so glad I have a seat at the table. And the next minute you're like, am I only here because I'm Black? Am I only like, does what I say only matter because it checks some box? It gets them that testimonial, that quote that they need.
Yeah.
And then it can lead, and this is like where you think you're doing something really great for your brand until you realize you're like the most direct harm is like it can lead to like gaslighting, because then it becomes this, oh but we featured you, oh but we did this and we did that for you, but you only did that for me because I was Black.
Yeah.
You only featured me on the site because you needed a diversity card.
Yeah. And it completely discredits the like authority and background of that person who deserved to be in the room, who had the credentials.
Everything was perfect on paper but their skin tone
Yeah, and that's
and like
so
their
sad.
ethnicity and where they grew up and like
Yeah, and it's so icky to think that like I deserve to be in the room, but I didn't get chosen to be in the room because I deserved it. I got chosen because of the color of my skin. And now I also have all of this baggage and like assumptions and like pieces put onto me that I don't deserve. And it takes away from the true like integrity and just like capability of the person, of the Black woman or the woman of color who's being tokenized, you know? And that's so unfair because women work hard for where they're at and they should be able to have a place at the table because they deserved it and because what they could bring to that table is valuable, not because of the color of their skin, not because you needed to like check a box, you know? That's it's unfair. And we would it's also hard because we would never do it to white women, right? Like we don't, especially in the coaching space. Like in other spaces, yes, I feel like sometimes just like any woman, typically a white woman, could have that happen to her. But in the coaching spaces, especially where like white women are the majority and some of the like head honchos, we would never pick a speaker just because she's white. Like that's not the list of
yeah.
qualifications that anybody's looking at when like doing a speaker lineup, when like looking for a coach or things like that. So we shouldn't do the same thing to like women of color or Black women.
You also can't hold the same space when you're using someone.
Mm,
You can't hold space and show up with care and kindness and intention and really see them for who they are when you have ill intention. When
yeah,
you are intending to use them.
yeah,
There is nothing, like I truly truly believe this. And if someone thinks I'm wrong, I would really love to hear your side of this. But like, I truly believe this, and I don't think anyone could sway me on this. If you are using someone, there is nothing you can actually do to truly see them for who they are.
because you'll only see them for like what they can give you or what benefits you can gain by being close to
Yeah.
them or supporting them or whatever.
It's so hard. And it's frustrating because sometimes it's the rooms that we are so excited to be in. And then
Yeah,
we look around and we're like, wait, I'm the only like, and I'm hyper aware. I will be completely honest. I'm extremely hyper aware of my race when I walk into a room, especially one that I've been invited to.
yeah, mm, yeah. And that's, I think that's important for like, especially like white coaches to hear is that there might be women who is like conscious of this. And so if your intention is to create a safe space for them, they can't be the only one. And even if it's not your intention to like tokenize them or anything like that, like it also gives them a perception of you when you invite them into the room and they're the only one that looks like them in the room. It makes them question, or I won't say everyone, it makes me question your intentions, your character, and if I want to continue being a part of your like sphere of influence, like period. And it could be a complete misunderstanding and that might not be your intention at all, but I don't know that by how you've shown up and the space that you've created.
But change is definitely possible. Like, we're not here to just be like, ugh, here we
Ugh.
are. We're stuck in this. Change is very possible, and there can be big shifts in breaking the pattern of really taking something being tokenism to true inclusion. And like what that looks like from like for Black women, for women of color, is one, taking back your power. And I think that
Mm,
so often tokenism can leave us in a state of feeling like, what are we good for? The imposter syndrome that comes up. Like, are we even worthy of being in these rooms? But really taking back your power, and what that can look like is one, knowing that you don't owe anyone a yes if the space isn't safe. Like, if you know from the get go, like, you're going to be the only one in the room, and you have some uneasy feelings about walking into a room. And there are rooms where I feel very, very confident and supported when I am the only Black woman in the room or
yeah.
only person of color in the room. Is it hard sometimes? Yes. But does it take a certain level of knowledge and knowing the impact and intent and like the work that the other women in the room are going for and working towards? Yes, it's hard. But you don't always have to say yes. You don't owe anyone a yes. You don't have to step into a room that you don't feel comfortable being
Yeah.
in. And you are also allowed to ask who else is at the table. You do not have to enter a coaching program without asking, like, oh, are there other Black women in this program? Are there other women of color in this program? Or like, Brianna, have you ever worked with Black women before? Like being able to have those dialogues and start those conversations. If someone is not willing to answer that question or is beating around the fucking bush, it's a no. It's a no. Don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. And I think it's also
And
important to realize that, like, you can ask those questions. You're allowed to. Like, even me, 2, 3 years ago, like, I wouldn't have asked that question. And so, like, also getting comfortable with, like, flexing that muscle and realizing that, like, you can ask those questions and you can make a decision based on that. And there's nothing wrong of making sure that, like, your space will feel safe for you.
no, truly, like, and it takes, like she said, like Brianna said, like flexing the muscle and really knowing that you're not too sensitive. You're not
Yeah.
being dramatic or crazy or sensitive for asking these questions. And discomfort is often going to be data. Like, I'm such a big believer in like gut instinct and gut feelings. Like, your core knows
Yeah.
whether or not something is right for you. Whether you believe in a higher power or not, like, there is something within you and ourselves as human beings that like we just instinctually know like what is right and what is wrong for us. And
Well,
when I say like for us,
yeah, and it's also biological, right? Like when you think about even like cavemen and women, like their bodies had to pick up on things around them that our body often knows before our eyes or our brain sees the danger. So if you feel uneasy, that's your body saying, "Hey, I see some red alerts that you don't see yet. Maybe we should like walk it back." And it's okay to be like, "Ooh, the I think like the hardest thing is like, especially in the coaching industry, we get on coaching calls and like the point of a coaching call 9 times out of 10 is to close. And that coach is going to do everything that they can to try to make you sign or to make you agree to join that program on the phone. And that can be a good strategy. Like it's fine. Like as we say, girl, go get your bag. But if you as the client are on this call and like something in you is like, I don't know, you're allowed to say, hey, I'm not ready to sign. I need to think about it. I need to figure some things out. And there's nothing that you can tell me on this call to make me change my mind. Full stop. And how they respond to you saying, like, hey, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I need to think about this more. And there's nothing that you can tell me on this call that will make me change my mind. That how they respond to that is also going to be data to let you know if they're the right coach or the right space for you. So it's okay to like not be so like I, you should be nice, but you don't have to be so nice. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be so nice.
be kind, be considerate, but you also can be like, not today.
Yeah. Like no, I need to really think about it. like this isn't feeling aligned for me right this second. I just want to really think about it, do some more research, and I'll let you know. And that's okay.
I also think that it's also important for us as women of color to know we can build our own tables.
Yeah.
Like, we have the ability, we are not competing. And sometimes I worry about this because I think about, in Seattle specifically, there are so many networking groups and community groups for female founders, but they're all led by white passing or white women. And the majority of women who attend are part of these groups are white women. I think that there is one networking group in my area that I know of that I regularly attend that is run by a woman of color, that when I sit at those tables, because they're dinners that I go to, like, there's such a mix of people at the table.
Yeah.
It's so diverse and so inclusive, and so many people from so many different walks of life, not just race, but age and, relationship status and family status and all these different things. And I think it can be so easy to kind of look around and be like, damn, like there's nowhere for me. And like, I don't feel safe or included anywhere, but like knowing that we can build our own tables.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also important to recognize that while we're building our own tables, we can also rest. We can also like co collaborate. We can also be like inclusive of other people. That building our table doesn't mean that we're keeping anyone out. It's just like we're making sure that people who look like us are let in. And I think that that's an important piece too.
Yeah.
And then for our white coaches, ways to help us make sure that, we're going from tokenism to true inclusion is don't just invite women of color, Black women in, share the power with them. Give them the ability to like actually speak into things that you're doing and not just be like the invite that like shows up and then they have like zero power or like you leave them on the side. You know what I mean? Um, Next thing is like, don't just feature people who don't look like you, pay and promote them at the same rate and the same level that you pay and promote white creators and white clients and white people. Let's just stop tokenizing. Now you know what it is. You know what it is. You know things to look out for. Let's just make a conscious effort to stop tokenizing women of color, but and instead start collaborating with them. Start bringing them into the fold, start hearing their stories, hearing their ideas, and then allowing them a place to implement where you respect them, you encourage them, and you like actually make them feel like they're a part of the space and not an afterthought. We need to be making sure we're not making assumptions, but instead asking questions, really being okay with having those uncomfortable feelings while getting information that lets us grow and get better and really like see the people that we're working with, whether it's like a client coach relationship or like someone that you're collaborating with for your marketing or your events or things like that. Being able to show up and actually talk with them and feature them and like promote them in real equitable ways. And then finally, don't be the first to feature, be the one who makes space sustainable. So as you start doing that, don't just do it once and then be like, I'm awesome. I don't do this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, again, this practice is a continuation of like flexing this muscle, showing up, trying new things, hearing we got it wrong, apologizing, trying something new. It's a continual process that should be built into the ecosystem of your business, not just a check mark that you check off once a year and you pat yourself on the back and you feel really good about it, but it doesn't actually change the way that you view women of color or Black women or how you treat them. Like, that kind of defeats the purpose. It's performative. So, like, if you're going to show up, show up.
To tie this all together for this episode, like us, Bran and I, as women of color, and of course, we don't speak for everyone, but for us, like what we're asking for is not just for a spotlight, we're asking for like actual substance. Like,
Yeah.
we want to be in these rooms because we're wanted in these rooms, and our opinions and our thoughts are valued. And it's not just like oh, great, this is going to look fabulous on social media. I'm so glad they showed up because like this is going to look so good on social media.
Yeah.
Like, spotlight is nice, but like it's just like going viral. You can
Yeah.
go viral once, but just because you go viral once does not mean that you have a sustainable business, does not mean you're going to make a bajillion dollars. There has to be actual substance and like strategy behind it. And if you are just giving women of color spotlight for spotlight to check your box to hit that quota, whatever it is, like you're actually doing a disservice to them and yourself.
Yeah. 1,000%. I think it's time for a heart check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so today I want you to be thinking about this. So, specifically, if you are a Black coach or a Black client or a woman of color who's listening to this, I want you to reflect and ask yourself, where in your work are you seeking to be visible over having a voice? Because this is also a choice that we can actively make. So, sometimes it's not even so much that, like, yes, it's on the white person who's tokenizing us, but if we are actively seeking, like, oh, it's better to just be in the room, even if we don't have a voice, even if we know we're going to be the tokenized Black girl or the tokenized person of color, that's also a problem, and it's feeding into this issue that we're talking about. So, like, let's be honest with ourselves. Where have we put ourselves in positions where it was better for us to just be seen versus to like actually make an impact and have our voice heard? And what things do we need to shift within ourselves or within our strategies to make sure that that isn't happening? And have you ever been placed in a space to represent instead of lead? So have you been in those times where you know that you were just there so that they could see your pretty face, take the pictures, and use it for marketing? How has that made you feel? And how can you address those issues when they come up in like a kind and respectful way? Or how can you make sure that you're not getting in rooms where that's going to happen? And then for my white coaches or white listeners, we want to think about like, where are we unintentionally tokenizing our clients, our friends, the people in our lives? What does that look like? What are things that me and Catrice addressed today that makes us stop and think, I've actually done that? And how can we start making amends and making sure that we don't put people in positions where they feel like the tokenized person of the group? How can we make our spaces more inclusive and make sure that we're being more conscious of who we're inviting into the room, why we're inviting them, and if they're feeling safe in the spaces that we create?
And that's a wrap. We're three Black women and their white coach, and this conversation is just getting started.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today.
We've loved getting to spend this time here with you, but don't let the conversation stop here. Drop us a message or connect with us on social media. All the details can be found in the show notes,
along with some great resources to help you on this journey of helping make the coaching industry more inclusive. Until next time, we're three Black women
and their white coach,
doing the work, holding the space, and building something better.